4 boys, each one has 4 boxes. Each box contains 4 marbles. How many marbles in all? And how do we calculate it? To calculate it, we will multiply 4 multiplied by 4 multiplied by 4, because 4 boys, each one has 4 boxes, and in each box there are 4 marbles. So 4 times 4 times 4. How can we write 4 times 4 times 4 in a short way? We can write it as 4 to the power of 3. This is called a power or exponent. So in this case, 3 is called the exponent of the number 4, and 4 is called the base. And 4 power 3 as a total is called the power. So 4 power 3 is called power of 4. And it is 3 here, so it is called the third power of 4. And we can multiply it. So the power or exponent of a number says how many times to use the number in a multiplication. So again, if we have an example like 8 to the power of 2. In this case, 2 is called the exponent of the base 8. So 8 is the base and 2 is the exponent, and together we call it the power of 8. So the power can also mean the result of using an exponent. So in the previous example, 4 times 4 times 4, it was 64, and 64 is called the power or the third power of 4. So what do you think? What is the use of exponents, or what is the use of powers? Exponents are used to measure large distances. This is one of the examples where we use exponents or powers, or where we have advantage to use it. So it can measure large distances. Imagine the distance between Earth and the Moon. So the measure between, or the distance between the Earth and the Moon is 1 times 10 power 5. What does that mean? 1 times 10 power 5, of course 1 times any number is the same number. So imagine 10 power 5. What is 10 power 5? We have the base 10, so this means that 10 is multiplied by itself how many times? 5 times. So again, the base is 10, and 5 is the exponent or the power of 10 in this case. So this means that the base 10 is multiplied by itself 5 times. Okay, so these are 5, so the answer will be 100,000 kilometers. What if the exponent is 1? So for example, if I have a number 64 raised to the power 1. 64 raised to the power of 1 means 64 is multiplied by itself how many times? 1 time. So it's only 64. So any number raised to the power of 1, so if I have a raised to the power of 1, this gives me the same a, and a is any number. What if the number is raised to the power of 0? So if I have the same 64, if I raise it to the power of 0, this will give me that 64 is multiplied by itself 0 times. So there is nothing, so it's only 1. So as if any power, if I multiply it, I start by multiplying it by 1. For example, 2 power 2. 2 power 2, if I start always by 1 times, then I see the base 2 is multiplied by itself 2 times. So I multiply 2 times 2 equals 4. And if I have, for example, 4 power 3 as the first example I gave you. Again, if I start by 1 times, I multiply 4 by itself 3 times. So 4 times 4 times 4, this gives me 64. But if I have 23 to the power of 0, this means 1 times nothing here, because 23 is repeated 0 times, so it's not there at all, so it's only 1. So this means that it's only 1. So this means that any number to the power of 0 equals 1. Here are some examples. The first example says that write each product as a power. So, for example, 12 times 12 times 12. How can I write this as a power? So, here the base is 12 and it's repeated how many times? It's repeated 3 times. So, this means that it's equal to 12 in the base and 3 power. Another example, 6 times 6. Now 6 times 6 times 6 times 6. So what is the number that is repeated? 6. So this is the base. And how many times is it repeated? It's repeated or multiplied by itself 4 times. So this is the power. Another example, evaluate each power. 7 power 2. 7 power 2 means we have 7 is the base, so this is the number that is repeated and it's repeated by itself 2 times, so 7 multiplied by 7 and this is 49. Another example, 2 power 5. So this means that 2 is repeated or multiplied by itself how many times? 5 times. So be careful and don't do this mistake. 2 power 5 is not 2 times 5. No, that's wrong. This is 2 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 2 how many times? 5 times. So it will be 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. These are 5. If you multiply 2 times 2, this is 4. 2 times 2, this is 4, and this is 2. You multiply 4 times 4 times 2, or by the way that you like, this would be 16 times 2, and the answer at the end would be 32. Now it's your turn to solve these questions. What if we have negative 2 to the power of 3? Okay, negative 2 to the power of 3 means that the base that is repeated or multiplied by itself is negative 2, is not 2. It's negative 2 in this case. So this means it will be negative 2 multiplied by negative 2 and multiplied by negative 2. So negative 2 times negative 2 is 4, positive 4, and 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. So this means that whenever I have a negative sign and raised to the power, odd power, this gives me the same negative sign in the result. But if it was negative raised to an even power, this gives me positive. So if I have negative 2, but in this case raised to the power of 4, let us see the answer. Negative 2 multiplied by negative 2, multiplied by negative 2, and multiplied by negative 2. So this will be negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. Positive 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. The negative 8 times negative 2 is positive 16. So see here, the answer is positive because we had even power. Here the answer was negative because we had odd power. So what is the difference between negative 2 power 3 and negative 2 power 3? First of all, look at the difference in what I wrote here. Negative 2 here, I wrote it in parentheses, and here without parentheses. So what is the difference between them? The difference between them is that here the negative and 2 together are raised to the power of 3. So as we said, it will be negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2. And the answer would be negative 8. But in this case, negative 2 power 3, this means that the base is only 2, because negative is not raised to the power of 3, because it's not together in the same parentheses. So in this case, I will write negative, and then I will raise 2 power 3 is 8, and it is negative 8. In this case, it was the same answer. But look here, instead of the odd power, I have now even power, 2, in both cases. So let's see what will be the answer. Negative 2 times negative 2, 2 times, in this case, gives me positive 4. But in that case, negative, I write it as it is, then I raise 2 to the power of 2, which is 4. So look at the difference between -4 and +4. There's a big difference. This is a positive number and this is a negative number. This means that whenever I have an even power, parentheses differs, or parentheses is important if I want to raise the negative to the same power. Also, what is the difference between AB power 2 and AB power 2? AB power 2 in parentheses means both A and B are the base together, so AB multiplied by AB, and the answer will be A squared B squared, because we add the powers of the same base. So A and A add the power 1 plus 1 is 2, and B times B. This is for if you want to revise, you can revise the multiplication of monomials. Okay, AB squared is just AB squared. So what is the difference between AB squared and A squared B squared? It's a big difference. Sometimes we hear this word, perfect squares. What is the meaning of perfect squares? Perfect squares is the square of a whole number. So for example, 1 power 2 square means power 2. So 1 power 2 is 1, 2 power 2 is 4, 3 power 2 is 9, 4 power 2 is 16, 5 power 2 is 25, 6 power 2 is 36, and we can continue forever. Okay, so what are the perfect squares? Perfect squares are the 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, and so on. These are called perfect squares because they are the square of a whole number. An example, determine whether each number is a perfect square, yes or no. 64. Is 64 a perfect square? We know that 64 is 8 times 8, so it's 8 power 2, so of course it is a perfect square. Another number, 20. Is 20 a perfect square? Do we have a number that we can multiply by itself 2 times to get 20? No, 20 is a composite number that is 4 times 5 or 2 times 10 or 1 times 20. So no number is repeated in multiplication, so 20 is not a perfect square. Thank you for watching. I hope you understand. Please subscribe, share and like. And to the next video. Bye.